Anniversary of the Voting Rights Act being signed into law, and the SPLC has plans to commemorate and celebrate. Here at Moore, we have Taffany English Ralph from the SPLC office right here in our area in downtown Montgomery. Taffany, talk about the Voting Rights Act, the impact it had on Americans then, and then also now.
Yeah. So yeah, it's hard to believe that it's 60 years that we're celebrating the passage of the Voting Rights Act. And what we know is that it is a fundamental right and should have never been denied to Black folks, specifically when we look at the movement in the South. And so we are tonight honoring those who actually began fighting for the Civil Rights Act decades before it was actually passed, how far they had come, and then also to address the work that we have ahead of us, considering so many anti-voter bills that are threatening to silence the voice of those at the ballot box.
Talk about what that fight looked like, specifically here in our state and here right in Montgomery.
Yeah, so I think when we think about the crossing at the Edmund Pettus Bridge and the power of the community to continue standing up and giving voice to the challenges that they were facing at the ballot box, and being very adamant that in the face of violence and basically racial terror, that they were adamant about securing those rights to have representation that will give voice to the issues that they were facing in their community. And so when we think about the movement here in Alabama, we think about the John Lewises, the Amelia Boynton Robinson, Dr. Martin Luther King, who organized. But we also think about our neighbors in Birmingham. We think about the Children's March. And then right here in Montgomery, I think we can go back to even the Montgomery bus boycott and the power of collective unity, community coming together to take a stand against things that are not just.
I know one of the national stories that a lot of people are talking about right now is what's going on with Texas with those voting rights redistricting of the maps there. We saw some maps redrawn and redrawn again here in our state. What does that work look like today?
It is a stark realization that we are again fighting voter suppression and an attempt to silence the voice of Black and brown communities. And when we look at what's happening in Texas, we can also look right here in Alabama regarding the Evan v. Milligan case and the work that our partners at ACLU and LDF, as well as SPLC, again, national organizations mobilizing on the local ground to give voice to those challenges and to fight back. And I think that that's the theme of where we are, because just what we saw happening in the 50s and 60s right here in Alabama, we are also fighting back against voter suppression in our state.
We're talking about something that happened 60 years ago. What can young people do now?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked that, because tonight we are so excited to have voice of young adults on the panel to talk about why our young people in some cases, because it's not across the board, why we are going to see demonstration of leadership with our young people and why it's important to engage them in this process, because the modern civil rights movement was an intergenerational movement, and our movement today is also intergenerational. We just have to give voice and the messaging behind that. So tonight, excited about the charge and the call to action that will come from our young people on the panel.
When and where is this happening?
Tonight at 5:30 p.m. Tonight at 5:30 p.m. at the Civil Rights Memorial Center, located at 400 Washington Avenue.
And you said you already have a panel in place
Yes.
for people coming out to attend. What can they expect?
So you can expect to hear from our panelists who are also going to talk about some policy. We're going to talk about activism, and we're also going to hear accounts of individuals who actually had a role in the movement. I'm excited about 2 foot soldiers who were actually in Marion, Alabama, organizing when they were 13 and 15 years old, and so excited to have them on the panel, as well as elected officials who will also come and give voice to how they are fighting back against anti-voter suppression in our state.
A reminder that it doesn't matter the age.
It does not matter the age.
And make a difference. Remind us again where they need to be tonight.
Tonight at the Civil Rights Memorial Center, 5:30 p.m., 400 Washington Avenue, Montgomery, Alabama.
All right, Taffany, thanks so much for joining us
Thank
here on
you.
Alabama Live.